that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge, it's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. So here we go, we're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? So glad to be back with you guys again. I took a little weekend off last weekend. Go watch Sarah, my sister. If you guys watch the show, know the family, you know Sarah. She was competing in a horse type competition. It's a wild. Anyway, I'll get it. We should have her on to talk about what this whole Baker Spain thing is. Anyway, glad to be back with you guys. If you guys are watching with us live, be sure to drop a hello in the comments along with where you are so we know that you're watching. Also, if you're listening to this on a podcast, thank you so much. You're listening to a recorded version of a live conversation that I host most every Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. Central and winding up sometime around 11:30. So if you'd like to have your questions answered live, be sure to join the live show. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. If you search Joe Everest, you're going to find the show, I feel sure. So without further ado, we are coming to you live. For those of you that are watching live, we're coming to you live from the Expert Stain and Seal Studios. So graciously sponsored by Caleb and Ashley Roth and the team. Can't forget the team. And without further ado, let's bring up Caleb. Caleb, how are you?
Good morning. Doing great.
I tell you what. So I listened to that intro song. This is the first time I've listened to it in headphones. It's better with headphones.
Oh, yeah, that's what I just listened to it, and it's quite extensive.
Yeah, it is. It is. It was, usually I just listen to it like this whole thing is run on a Mac Mini right here, and we're learning that the speakers in this thing are to like audio grade or whatever you might say. But, Caleb, how in the world are you?
Man, I'm better than I deserve, right? Same as you.
I hear. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Another day around the I don't know what we'd say. No, you say around the sun for anyway. Another day above grade. We'll say that. How about that?
It's just a good place to be.
You're looking sharp, my man. Look at that haircut.
Oh yeah, I got a cut the other day. Yeah, had to, man.
It's getting a little warm here, so I thought about doing that this week about losing some of the hair weight here.
It's been hot down here, and it's been hot everywhere, I guess.
Yep, that's what. So I was listening to a few podcasts. It sounds like everywhere is under a heat wave, and yeah, it's been a struggle, both really for everyone, but especially the guys out in the field. It's I mean, it was 101 the other day. It's just anyway. Luckily, all that's coming to an end. Next week should be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Of course, we got Monday, Tuesday off for holiday. Happy early Independence Day. And actually, today is also a holiday. I saw this up here. Happy Canada Day. So there's
Canada
that.
Day, huh?
So that was actually the same response we had here. Just
How about that?
I didn't know about it. And it is the celebration of basically the combining of the three provinces of Canada under British rule is what a quick little search resulted. It's just the timing seems odd.
Who did they fight and kill and send back to the other side of the ocean on that day?
Nope. None of that happened.
Really?
They just joined all the provinces into the British rule, and 3 days before Independence Day, which, timing seems questionable on that maybe, but anyway, that's a different show. Happy Canada Day for all you Canadians. Caleb, how in the world is Stain and Steel Experts doing, or Expert Stain and Steel? Sorry, I'm getting confused because I'm wearing my throwback cap here.
Well, we got two companies. You got Expert Professional Wood Care, and you got Stain and Steel Experts. You got them both. So both companies doing great.
Good.
Both companies doing great. It's we had a little bit of rain that slowed us down probably last month in the staining side, and but now it's nice and hot. So
there you go.
We're
Getting
able to
lumber
stain.
dried out quicker.
Yeah, lumber's dry. Everybody else is doing the same thing, and that's it. Pre-staining seems to be picking up popularity, and
Well, I tell you, so on that subject, I got the email from you guys. I like being on your guys' email newsletter. Whoever's doing your newsletter is doing a great job at it. But the staining machines are back in stock. The pre-stain machines are back in stock. Is that right?
yeah, got a warehouse full of them ready to go.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Saw a question come up. Actually interacted with a question in the staining group earlier today, the Staining University group, about cleaning the machine and also switching colors. I believe the question was, so he had a light job and a dark job, and he was trying to figure out how to clean in between and then clean up afterwards. I'll give kind of my answer and then see what the actual answer is maybe. Start with light color, go to a dark color. No real cleaning in the middle, I guess, unless it's what would be unless in there? That's always been my thing, is you just start with the light, go to the dark, but is there a caveat to that?
Yeah, you want to start with light to dark, but you may want to squeeze your roller sponges out,
okay,
just to get just to speed that transition up. And cleaning the machine itself is pretty simple. Setting it up. Let's start with setting it up.
Sure.
I guess the biggest question we get a lot of times, this machine will run one side of lumber or both sides. And so when you buy one, it comes with spacers. And the spacers are for the silver drip pan at the bottom of the tank. If you want to run both sides of the lumber, you put a spacer under the drip pan so that bottom roller is rolling in the drip pan of stain.
In the bath there.
Yeah. And if you want to do one side, you just remove the spacers. Once you set it up and you run your stuff through, it should do both sides easily, quickly, do all sides actually. And then changing colors over, I would just go light, then go to dark. And if you pull your rollers out, you could just squeeze them just to get any, if you're doing a bunch of cedar tone and you're trying to go to black, you might want to just get all the cedar tone out you can. You're not going to have to wash them, but just get what you can out of them.
Yeah,
and
just get the excess out.
Yeah, cleaning, most people just squeeze everything out and then use Dawn dish soap on it. It makes them last longer. You can use mineral spirits in a solvent, but it's just harder on things like that, those are natural bristle brushes, but they're held in place with some kind of synthetic glue, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So anytime we put a solvent on that, we can shorten the life. So Dawn dish soap works really well and give us the longest life possible on our brushes.
Yeah, one thing I had said was, so we'll mix up some Dawn dish soap and water, and then we'll throw the brushes and sponges in, let those sit for probably 5 or 10 minutes, and then it's really just, to your point, wringing them out, re-soaking them, wringing them out. We've got a rinse bucket that we'll rinse them in. Then we're done. We'll let them dry.
There's a hole in my chin.
It's a pretty straightforward process.
Yeah, and you want to strain. The drain underneath. You want to strain it. You want to put a paint strainer bag in your bucket underneath, because if a lot of guys won't, and then they'll pour stain with sawdust in it back in, and then it's going to slow you down. So
yeah, and those were a pretty easy find. I think we found like a 3-pack at Menards. They're just, so you catch the stain in a 5-gallon bucket. They wrap around outside of the 5-gallon bucket. The straining net sits inside of it. We throw that in with the brushes when we clean at the end. It's pretty straightforward. It really is.
Keep sawdust separate from everything else. So it's very helpful.
Since it was a 3-pack, we took it a step further. So where you pour the stain in has a metal grate in there. Mm-hmm. We just put it was a 3-pack, so we just put one over that, put that in there. So we're kind of double straining it. So whatever the first strainer may have missed, which typically doesn't, or if we maybe for whatever reason we got a chunk of pigment that just didn't mix up quite right in the first pour. Anyway. And I want to say, I don't remember how much these strainers are, but they're handful
cheap.
Of dollars. Yeah.
25 packs, like $10 at most paint stores or hardware stores. But, we're talking about sawdust here. So in big commercial pre-stain operations, sawdust is the killer. You've got to filter the sawdust out. So filtration is very important, even on the little smaller machines.
Absolutely. And I think no matter what machine we're talking about, sawdust is always the thing. I mean, this is just it's the bane of the stain machine's existence. No matter whose it is that sawdust management. You gotta have a plan for it. We've got a big pre-stain machine, Joe, and I'm going to say this because it's noteworthy. My first big pre-stain machine I bought, it came with a conveyor on the front, and it had a box. It had a box, like a sealed box built, and it had stiff brushes like this, and you would run the board through this before it went. Think of this box. Yeah.
And there was a big vacuum cleaner hose to the top of it. So as you would push in, those fingers, those little brushes would knock the sawdust loose, and it would suck it out before it would go into the machine. And so we don't currently use that system, but I think it'd probably be a wise idea to set it back up. Like that.
We've got a low-tech version of this to where when we're pulling them when we're pulling pickets off the bundle, we're tapping them to release all that sawdust before we run them through. If it's really, sometimes we'll get into some bundles that are they're a lot higher sawdust content. We'll have a guy just sweep them off. He'll sweep one side of them off before we start pulling that level. And it's always a thing. It's always, how do you figure out your sawdust?
Yeah, my guys used to have a post set up where they would take it right out of the bundle. They'd pick the board up. So they'd pick it up out of the bundle this way, and they'd have a post, and they would just hit it and then shove it right in the machine. And that kept them from turning it, and it would speed us up. But
Sure.
Just call the sawmills and ask them, could they control their sawdust a little better?
Well, so I was down at the sawmill that we buy from for the Eastern Red Cedar. I was down there Tuesday picking up a few bundles, kind of some special order 8-foot type stuff. But anyway, you want to talk about sawdust? They have mountains of sawdust. Actually,
what do they do with it?
They sell it. I was gonna say there's actually a pretty big market for this.
Yeah.
And he kind of walked me through it. I hope I'm not spilling any secrets here, but so the fine stuff they put in just fabric bags to where you can still smell it, but it doesn't release it, if that makes sense. It doesn't let that dust out. He said people buy those and put them in like sock drawers or put them in just anywhere you don't want bugs. And the larger stuff they sell to as like for like pets, some gerbils or
bedding, I guess.
Whatever. Yeah, and then the bigger stuff they sell as bedding for larger animals, for cows and horses, show animals, that sort of thing.
I guess they probably do mulch too.
They had a massive mulcher. It wasn't running, but so all their staves, so whatever's on the outside that's not good enough for selling as lumber, or split pickets or whatever, they'll throw into the grinder. They bundle them up in bundles that are probably 3 foot round all the way around.
Yeah, I've seen those.
They'll just drop them in. They'll put it in there, cut the metal off of it, and then it'll just grind it into mulch.
That's awesome.
Quite the operation. I was sitting there and my my little wheels were turning. I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
And then the other part of me said, that's what you need is something else right now. You really need like one more thing to try to figure out. So, I think I told this story on here. A conversation with you kind of put me down this path for a little while, and I was watching YouTube videos, and this is kind of what I do in the evening is we'll put the kids to bed, wife will jump in the bath, I'll sit and watch YouTube videos for a little bit. And I was watching them on these sawmill operations. Some of them were band sawmills, some of them were like these massive round blade operations. One of them runs on a Caterpillar engine, like out of a school bus. Anyway, I'm watching these things. Until finally one evening, Taylor walks in, and she had her bath or whatever, and she walks in, she looks at TV, she looks at me, she looks at TV, she said, "No, we're not doing this."
It's the third night in a row you've been watching this. No.
That's what she said, yeah. Yeah, she's like, no. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, yeah, this is like the third or fourth time I've come in here, and you're watching sawmill stuff, and I know how you work. No, we do not need one more thing for you to try to figure out right now. I'm like, okay, but I am filing it away for later. But then after that, probably a month after that, this Eastern Red Cedar sawmill that we had used in the past got back a hold of me, said that they were looking to take on new clients again. So
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen a big change in the lumber world. It seems like prices are coming down quite a bit.
Prices are coming down. Availability is getting so the availability of logs is coming up. So I was talking to her while I was down there, just asked her like what. So we used them for probably 5 or 6 years, and then what ended up happening is they just couldn't keep up with our orders. So they have a massive fence company that they sell to, right? So kind of in a different part of the state, and they sell 1 to 2 truckloads a week. Just go to these people, and we were ordering like 1 truckload every 6 weeks. So we were small fish in that pond, but the beautiful boards and anyway. But we started selling them. So then it was 1 truckload every 6 weeks to every 5 weeks to every 4 weeks, truckload every 3 weeks, and then they started missing loads. They said, well, we can't make it this week. It'll have to be next week. So they kind of kept backing us off on we've got a truckload every 4 to 5 weeks, and at that point we were getting backed up. Then it was backing our production schedule up.
Yeah.
So, but their problem was they couldn't get logs in. So, and this had to happen. This had to do with someone in the organization who bought logs, had a health event that kept them from being able to walk the properties, and there's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
So now things are different. There's new ownership. There's a couple brothers that own it, and they had logs stacked to the sky when I drove, because that was one of the things that was on my mind. Is like I want to see, like I'd heard them say that they had a lot of logs. Like I want to see it with my own eyes while I'm down there. They had them stacked as far as you could see. And they only do fence stuff. This was kind of interesting. So they're set up for fencing companies to where they only cut pickets, rails, and posts. That's just what they run. A lot of these other mills, they don't really like running fence pickets because they'll do some of these other higher grade cuts of lumber. And anyway,
you want me to a conspiracy theory rabbit hole real quick?
I absolutely do.
I was in Canada, early this year, and meeting with some guys that they're all in the lumber business, and they said, the U.S. and Canada have had some tariff wars going on particularly on cedar, and we'd been talking about this over the phone for months, and then he said, well, yeah, just recently, the U.S. has canceled over $1 billion worth of POs for Western red cedar, and I said, huh. I said, well, that's good. I bet prices will start to come down because they'll have an abundance of cedar.
Sure.
Well, prices have come down, but now all the forests in Canada are on fire. I'm just going to leave that right there. I don't know if that's related, but interesting timing, because I have this map on my phone. I don't know if anybody's done this or not, but if you look at the fires, have you looked at a map of the fires?
I have not.
It's a lot of fires, Joe.
Yeah.
You see all those red dots?
Good grief.
Orange? The entire country is on fire. Now, how does that happen? I don't know. Isn't that crazy?
What are the chances?
I don't know, man, but we need to send some smoke jumpers up there to take care of that. It is crazy, because that is going to drive the lumber costs back up.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. This is all supply and demand. And it's interesting. I'll go down this rabbit hole a little bit further with you. So it's interesting that fire is typically the cause. Mm-hmm. So, and this is just coming to mind. So resin factories around the Gulf caught fire. And they made big announcements that said, hey, due to rebuilding costs, we're not going to reopen these plants. We're going to shut them down, this and that. So price of resin. Now, well, what does resin matter? Well, resin is in every stinking thing that we use. Everything from your hot water heaters to anything roughly PVC related. Yeah. Resin is a binding agent in all of this stuff.
Boats, right? PVC, stains, paints, glues, epoxies.
If you buy it, there's a good chance something in that product line or something in that supply chain is resin based, right? Whether it's whatever it is, resin is in everything. That's what we came to learn when these plants caught fire. Because that was the question I had, was like, how is this going to affect me? Search what is resin used in? Everything. Everything. So those fires happened, and it was several resin factories, which seemed odd.
It was quite a few, and it was the biggest in the world. And now there's two companies that own them all. So,
yeah, odd.
But I'm in the resin business. I use products from the resin industry, mm-hmm. and there's new manufacturers popping up. So
of course there are.
So there's good capitalism and bad capitalism, right? The bad capitalism is when one company gulps everything up and they own it all. But the saving part of capitalism is that, there's 3 new guys on the block, and their prices are half what everybody else's is, and so now the big boys are having to adjust their prices. So
you create a vacuum.
These things work themselves out over time.
Yeah, so there were those fires, and then there were, who was it? Whole Foods, one of the major food suppliers, fresh food providers, fruit and whatever else. 2 or 3 of their warehouses caught fire, and they're like, well, there went a bunch of the fruit from, it's out in California or something. There goes a lot of the fruit and vegetables we would have gotten out of California. Dang the luck.
The eggs, the 18,000 cows,
and it was fire. That's odd. And now we've got all these forest fires that are, they're very, you don't say anything about anything, but the timing seems odd.
Hey, man, in World War II, everybody had a victory garden in their front yard, and I think the best thing we can do is personal excellence. If we're all excellent in our own lives, it's hard to shut us all down.
Self-sustainability. Let's say hi to a few folks here. Steve Shire says, hi, Joe, from a not-so-sunny UK. It's actually not so sunny here at the moment, which is kind of nice, to be honest.
It's kind of in between here. Good morning, Steve. It's good to see you.
Well, so he said he had typed that before you came on, Caleb. So he wants to make sure he also said hello to you, too.
Yeah.
Fence Vlogs, what is up? Good morning, Fence fam. Clint Iams, we know this guy. Hi from the beaches of North Carolina.
You can't hide money.
I tell you what, as a guy that came from North Carolina, the beaches there are pretty top notch. Front Rock Fences says, "Hello, Caleb and Joe. Just sold another chestnut stain job.
Beautiful.
We love chestnut. So we offer 3 colors, light, medium, and a dark. Cedar, chestnut, walnut are kind of our go-to 3.
All right, let's have a look.
And Sarah and I are right in a conversation. I'll call it a conversation. I like pecan, if we're being honest. I like chestnut, but if I had to choose, I'd probably pick pecan over chestnut.
Pecan is the most popular color
Is it?
in the world.
Yeah, I believe that.
By double the next in line. It is
Really?
Double. It is our most popular color by far.
So, without going too far into it, the differences between chestnut and pecan, I think, just to my eye, is pecan has more red in it. They seem like they're roughly the same brown, but pecan has red in it. Am I even close?
No, it's the same exact color, exact same formula. It's just twice as strong with pecan. The color dose it's just a double dose of color of pecan.
Okay. I was way off. I don't know where I got red from. I don't know. We stained a few boards. I was like, I think it's the same brown. It's got red. I'm way off.
Yeah, there's no red at all in it. It's brown.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually there's yellow in that, and yellow's in pigmentation kills red. So a lot of people, and same with chestnut. It's just all brown.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, it looks red. Well, what'd you put it on? Western red cedar. Well, you have a red fence.
Yeah.
So this is the struggle. But yeah, it's there's certain words you never say to people. I've learned in the stain business. You never ever say red. You never say orange.
Really?
We're thinking about the redwood. Is it red? I'm like, no. It's just look at it. But is that red?
Interesting.
It's a strawberry brown.
Strawberry brown.
Yeah, there's some people that love red and some that hate it.
Got it. So we just dipped. So the first batch of Eastern Red Cedar we dipped this week in walnut. Interesting. I'm interested to see what it looks like when it weathers.
Yeah, that's
the problem.
I'd like to see that.
The Eastern Red Cedar is purple when it the boards inside the bundle, purple. So that's an interesting look when you dip it in walnut. We're gonna see how it looks when we put it up. I think it's gonna look really cool. But there's part of me that's like,
I think it'll still turn though. I think it'll still immediately turn orange probably because it is going to get some UV.
I think so, and that is absolutely what I'm hoping.
It'll turn orange like in a day in the sun, right?
Yeah,
or 30 minutes in the sun.
Yeah.
So I think in a week, 2 weeks, there'll be enough UV will get through that it will turn it.
It'll still turn. That's what I'm hoping. It still looks really cool, but it's odd to see purple. You know what I mean? On a fence.
Send me some photos because I really like that Eastern Cedar, man.
Oh, I tell you what, I had a customer. This is during the first time we were with these folks. This customer got just really upset with me, and we went and put up a fence. There's a whole backyard, looked beautiful, but they were brand new bundles that had been covered. So he called me up. He said, "I'll tell you something. I did not order a purple fence, and you will be coming out here." And you'll be replacing this fence because the pictures you showed me were brown. And you gave me a purple fence. I'm not going to have a purple fence around my house. I said, oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yeah. I hear you. I understand the concerns here. And this was like on a Thursday or a Friday. I said, I tell you what, I can be out Monday morning. I'll take a look at that with you. We'll walk that fence and we'll see what's going on. Well, Monday morning it was brown.
Monday morning, he's got a muffin and some coffee, and he's like, "Hey, good morning, Joe."
We pulled up. I pulled up, and he just kind of said, "I'm sorry."
My wife made me do it.
Well, he just said, "I'm sorry." I was like, "Look, I understand it." And at that time, we weren't warning people that it would be purple for the first day or so.
That's California Redwood's the same way. It's
really?
Purple and white, and it's. In 10 to 15 minutes, it'll turn the sapwood or whatever. It'll turn yellow like in 10 minutes in the sun. It's crazy.
Really?
How quickly it turns. Yeah. Like if you leave boards stacked and kind of laying out on the job site, when you pick them up, you'll see where the sun hit them. It's crazy how.
No
quick
kidding.
It turns. Yeah.
So this the Eastern's kind of similar in that you can tell the boards that are on the outside of the bundle and the edges, right? So you'll nail them all up, and you'll see some that are already brown, you'll see some that are purple, and some that just the sliver of the edges are brown, and then the rest of it's purple, just where it stuck out a little bit in the stacking process or something.
And you're doing the 8-inch wide boards?
They call them 8s. They're 7.5, 8-inch nominal. They're 7.5. Yeah.
I like that a lot, man. I really
it's
like
such
that.
a good look, and not for nothing, but you can't get a 7.5-inch wide board at a home store here in our area. So if you see a fence that's built with a 7.5-inch board, it came from a fencing company.
When you do a 7.5-inch board, that board uses less nails, and I guess it is a stronger. It had to be an older tree, so it had to be a stronger board.
Yes. Yep.
And you're just doing it because it's faster.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And personally, I think it looks better proportionally on a 6 foot or an 8, especially an 8 foot tall fence. A 5.5-inch or a 6-inch board on an 8 foot tall fence looks skinny. It just looks really thin, similar to how a 4-inch picket looks on a 6 foot fence. Right, just looks weird proportionally. So the 7.5-inch wide boards look just more impressive, just aesthetically to me. Everyone's different, but yeah, I like the looks of them so much more.
It's got an old world look too, because back in the day they had 12-inch wide planks and they built barns and stuff out of. You just don't get those anymore.
No, you don't see them. Well, because the price of them would be so high that no one would buy them. A 12-inch wide picket. Could you imagine the cost?
Yeah,
to get a clean 12-inch picket.
Oh yeah, we find old barns around here, and they, some of them have 16 and 20-inch wide planks, and that's like, well, we cut the trees down on the farm to build the barn with, and that's,
Imagine how big that tree was.
Yeah.
To get a 16-inch plank. Part of it too is they were a little less picky as far as grading goes on these planks. They weren't looking for clear. They were looking for will it keep stuff out. But
that old stuff lasted forever, though. It's still there.
Oh, absolutely. Barns are all over the Midwest that are still standing.
What lumber did they build it out of where you are?
It's a mix. So there's a fair amount of cedar or juniper, really. There's a lot of hedge. So a lot of the posts were out of hedge. And hedge posts are awful to try to cut. They last forever because they are wickedly hard wood. A lot of hedge
call that
for
Bodark
posts.
up here.
Bodark?
Yep. It's called Bodark. It's hedge apples, horse
apples. How is that spelled? Is it BOIS apostrophe D?
I think it's BODA. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I say that because we've got a town just probably 20 minutes from here called Bodark, but it's spelled like BOIS apostrophe DE space ARC or something like that.
Yeah, it's BODARK, and it's Mochleura pomifera, and that is that's the horse apple tree. And I was riding a horse back in the day, and they fall on the ground. And one day my horse just reached down and he took a bite just like an apple and went on. But around here they take those logs and they put them in the fireplace at night because they're hard and they'll burn all night long.
They'll burn forever.
Yeah.
Interesting. Say hi to a few more people here.
Hey, Evelyn, go inside and leave that alone. You can take the cookie. Go.
Jeremy says, hey guys, checking in from Fort Worth, Texas. Hello, Jeremy. CNS Vinyl. We know these folks. Howdy from Central Florida. Hello, CNS. Good to see you again. Santina Dolda says, on the subject of cleaning, I'm new to staining with oil-based stainless steel experts or expert professional wood care products. What is the cleanup? Excuse me. What is the cleanup process after the job for my airless sprayer, tips, brushes, etc.?
Well, the best, most contractors are going to use a mineral spirits to clean an oil-based stain because it'll just quickly dissolve any oil or anything. For your brushes, just dip them in a little mineral spirits, clean them up, dry them off with a rag, put them back in the sleeve. If you take care of your brushes, they'll last a long time. And then the pump, you just push, you pull the drop stick out of the stain, you put it into mineral spirits, and then you prime the pump with that. And then you turn the pump on, and I like to pull the tip out of the gun, and then you spray the stain into the bucket until it is no longer stain coming out, until mineral spirits is coming out. And then you just put the gun down into your bucket of mineral spirits, which we call that a clean out bucket, and you just let it circulate a little while to clean everything out, and then you can just leave the mineral spirits in the sprayer. It will not freeze, and when you go to the next job, you can do that same process in reverse. You would put the drop stick into the stain, prime it, and then push all the mineral spirits into the cleanup bucket, and then once your stain's coming through, I like to put it into the stain bucket and let it circulate all the way through, so I make sure my color's full strength. Put the tip on and go spray the fence.
Very good. Very good. One thing about that mineral spirits, too, is the stain will actually separate. Once it's sat for a while, the stain will actually separate itself out, too.
And you can, and so you can strain your mineral spirits every so often, and any solids will fall to the bottom. You can strain it out. And then the solids, you can actually, once they dry, you can throw those away. It's just basically drying and non-drying oils and organic pigments. So all of that is safe to throw away. You want to consult your local agency about that. But generally speaking, when solids dry, they are disposable.
Absolutely. Excellent. Shane Catton. Hello, Shane. What is up?
I bet he's in Hawaii or somewhere right now.
Probably. Shane, where are you right now? Where in the world is Shane Catton? Stevie Boy Billings says, good afternoon, Joe and the Fence fam. Good afternoon, Stevie, from across the pond, as they say. Someone here is incognito mode and says, Facebook user says, Saturday is for dimming the lights, turning on the fireplace with a bottle of Jack, and watching sawmill videos. Not wrong. I mean, I wouldn't turn on the fireplace right now. It's, what is it right now? It is almost 11 o'clock, and it is 83 degrees out. So, no fireplace today.
It's 87 here.
87. Very nice. Yep. Very nice. James. Oh, man, James. I'm not even going to attempt the last name.
James McAuliffe.
McAuliffe. There you go. I was going to butcher it. So, hello, James. Nathan Downs. We know this guy. Working on sustaining in Oklahoma. Good morning, boys.
What does he mean by that?
Well, we were talking about being self-sustaining, about having freedom gardens in the front yard, that sort of thing.
Got it. I'm with you on that, Nathan.
Dan says, my man Caleb, expert stainless seal. I'll just sit here awkwardly while you guys say hello.
Hey, Dan. Hope you're doing good.
Steve Shire says, the cedar on southern yellow pine is awesome.
Yeah, but the pecan's better.
Yep.
Pecan is better.
We typically, well, let me ask you your opinion on this, Caleb. So we offer the three because people like choice, light, medium, and a dark. But I typically try to push them towards the darker stain, saying that it will offer them a higher level of protection. Is that?
Well, it's not necessarily that darker provides more protection.
Okay.
I mean, it can, but it really is that more pigmentation will provide more protection. It's like more sunscreen. So if cedar and pine are the same color, but cedar is half the strength of pigment or half the amount of pigment as pecan, pecan's going to last longer. It's going to protect from UV better and longer. So I always push people into that semi-transparent category. You know, transparent stains are great, but they're just higher maintenance. They don't last as long. So the semi-transparent is going to last longer for us. The semi-solid will last even longer.
Yeah, that's when I have someone. Well, we let's see. It was 3 or 4 jobs. We're actually still in the middle of it, pre-dipping. We're pre-dipping them all walnut because if the customer doesn't have a preference, and I'll show them the stain sample for walnut and say this is the one I like putting up because it will offer you a ton of protection. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, it's just a touch more pigment, but yeah, it's. I tell you want the really strong stuff. It's out of the fence industry price bracket generally, just because. But we make that log and timber oil. It's got opaque and transoxide pigments in it, so we can and it's double. So if you took our 2 strongest stains and they had a baby, this is what it would be.
That's what it is.
And the reason is just the more pigment we can get in there, the longer we can make it last.
Of course, that's just your sunscreen analogy works. It's like when you use a higher SPF, it's thicker.
Yeah.
But it gives you longer protection.
Well, and also like with opaque pigments, you have huge particle sizes.
Okay.
And in transparent pigments, you have tiny particle sizes. And so an opaque pigment, if you'll notice this, like on certain brands of stain that are opaque, once they do start to fail, they seem to fail quicker. You know,
Okay.
let's say
Yeah.
it maybe takes 6 years, but it seems like you'll see more gray all of a sudden. It's because it's a bigger particle size, and where the transparent pigments are smaller. So when we blend the two, they cover each other's back. You know, they've got each other's back. So that's
Kind of the
pretty
best
cool.
of both worlds.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. We learn something here every day, folks. Robert Looker. Hello, Robert. Hey, how goes it, dude and dudettes? Covering both the bases there. Steve Shire says, I've got my first large project with a Sequoia in a week or so, fence decks and a large summer house. Of fence decks and a large summer house. I'm looking forward to that one. Sequoia.
It's a California special. It's a great color.
Okay, very
It'll
good.
make it look like Redwood.
Okay. Got it. I was going to ask what the difference in Sequoia was, so it's probably leans more towards that Redwood.
If you're doing treated pine, Steve, which I know a lot of your projects are treated pine, they're in the UK using southern yellow pine, and you might want to do a test spot just because when you put a redwood type stain on a yellow fence, it gives it a little more orange look than it would if you put it on the juniper or the redwood. And so it'll be just a little. Some people would say that it's orange, not quite as orange as Joe's shirt, but not far off. So you just don't want to do the whole job and go, that's a little more orange than I was hoping.
Nice tip.
But you know what I haven't seen? I have not seen pecan and sequoia mixed together. That could be a good color.
Interesting.
Yeah, or even redwood, and I have homework to do now. Yeah.
Robert says, can't hang out and watch live, but we'll definitely check out the podcast. Very good, Robert. Very good. At the Fence Life podcast, you guys know these folks. The 7.5-inch boards used to be the norm here on the old fences in southeast Louisiana, but they've all been torn down, and now we just see the 5.5-inch wide. The big boxes ruined the wide fence board industry. That's typically how we're telling folks they can determine, or one of the ways they can determine where the boards came from, if they came from a big box store or an actual mill, is the width of the boards.
Let's edit that post for you, Dan. The big box stores ruined the wide fence board industry. Let's change that to the big box stores have created a wide fence board opportunity. What an opportunity.
Absolutely.
I see.
Yep, absolutely.
You know how to tell if it's a quality fence? It's got a wide board.
Wider board.
You don't want those narrow boards. It comes from the home store.
Who knows where they came from? They could have come from anywhere. That'd be the way to put
That's
it.
where Donald Trump would say something. I'm not going to say it.
Well, and here's the thing about the wide fence boards too, is I'm trying to think. I want to say, so there's someone else here in town that uses a wider board, but it's I don't know. It's only their board. It's a proprietary treatment. We'll say that, and it's not approved for retail sale. Like they can go install it, but they can't sell it retail. And anyway, so I say all this to say, now that we retail the wider boards, if someone has a repair on a fence and they need that wider board, where do you think they go?
Yeah.
They can't go to the home stores. They can't go to this other company.
What are they treating it with? Is it like a pressure treatment, or is it just a coating?
It's a pressure treatment. It's a pressure treatment. Yeah.
Just a heavy duty one.
Yeah. Yep. It's I'll tell you later. But anyway, nice thing about the wider boards is if you're one of the only ones that sells them and it needs repaired, those come to you, regardless of who's repairing it. So anyway. Or if the neighbor wants to match. And Jeremy says, yes, Bodark is okay, yeah, there you go. Is Bodark. It's funny how both those are pronounced the same. But that's the second spelling is how the town near us is spelled.
Bodark.
Yeah.
It's Bodark is the way that I found it.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Steve Shire says, how are you finding the boy, I don't know that word.
It's a Terrassen Blitz. That would be this floor tech company. So these guys, Steve uses this machine. And I've actually got some videos of it, but if you really want to see it, I can show you. I'd pull them off, do a screen share. But this machine has basically an Osborne brush on a roll, and it'll just burn a paint or stain off of the top of a deck. You can literally go run it across the top of the deck. There's an old paint, it's gone. You can stain it that fast.
Interesting.
And then there's the handheld one that you can do the railings with, and then there's the small edger tool that you can do all the edging with, and it's pretty cool.
Those Osborne brushes are slick. So if we're talking about like a machine version of those,
yes.
I can see that being pretty nice.
But think of a drum sander. It's on a drum.
Oh.
And so it'll go in the cracks. It'll go everywhere. It'll take a deck that we did a deck right up the road that had it had a Cabot semi-transparent on it. It was awful. It was 6 months old. They hated it, and it just one pass, it just burned it right off.
Really?
Fresh, clean deck board, ready to go. We
Interesting.
have more testing to do to get our expertise down with the machine, but we plan to rent the machine out here, and then they want us to sell them. They're pretty high priced, all sanders are.
Yeah.
But, for the people that do that kind of work, it's pretty nice tool.
Well, yeah, especially if you're in a market where like this deck over stuff or whatever, you're in a market where there's a lot of that stuff that you want to get off in a hurry. It'd be beautiful for that.
Yeah. But the cool thing, you can use it on raw wood, gray wood, and it actually will resurface like Ipe exotic hardwoods. Brilliant.
Okay.
Just does a great job.
Man, I wish we were in a market where we could get a hold of some of that just higher end lumber. Like I would love to. I mean, an Ipe fence isn't a thing, but I'd love to see like Ipe decks that are maintained well.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's the thing with Ipe is maintained well is the key phrase in that, or teak, or any of those.
Yeah.
That if they're maintained well, they are so nice.
That's tough, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Here it's like, well, would you like cedar or pine? No, that's it. Those are your two choices: cedar or pine. Period. I'm jealous of the redwood out west. Like
I really like the redwood. It is really, really. If you go see it in its natural environment on fences and decks, it's really gorgeous.
It's beautiful, and that's the thing is. So there for a minute I looked into trucking it in because how great would that be to offer something like that? Be the only person in the region offering something like this, but the cost would just be wild. Like it would. So when we price things, we price them in a good, better, best, a 3-tier system. Redwood would be so far above any of the other three that we likely wouldn't sell any in a year, or we might sell 1 or 2 in a year. But you got to bring the lumber in by the truckload, so most of it would sit.
It's very stable. I think that's the key to it. It's gorgeous and it lasts forever, but it's very stable.
Interesting.
You notice the rewood on your wall behind you is not all
Yeah.
warped and cupped and twisted. It stays stable.
That's true.
When you go look at all the redwood fences out in California, they tend to be very straight. They're 30 years old, but they're straight. But California is a very dry environment, so you bring that brand new lumber over here to Tennessee or to Missouri, it might warp.
Yeah, just with
know.
as much moisture as in the air.
Yeah, you'd have to let it acclimate.
Sean King says, "What's up? What's up, Sean?"
I bet he's riding in his Bentley right now.
Well, it's funny you should say that. Rolling down the road in Bentley, listening. Absolutely. Sean's one of these guys, like, talk about a Where's Waldo scenario. It's like, where in the continental United States is Sean today? And it will be different tomorrow. I saw a Facebook post that they had made showing, like, the different training events that are upcoming. It's like everywhere. Like if you were to color in the states that they have these trainings in, it's 90% of them, I bet.
I'll show you something funny here.
While you're pulling that up, Kenny Dugan says, "Good morning, everyone. Don't confuse Bodark with Bodark." Okay. I don't know that we're in danger of that.
What you think it means?
I don't think we are in danger of that. I think everyone... But now that you've said that, you've introduced this now, Kenny. So, what you got, Caleb? What are you going to show us?
Well, a blue Bentley truck, but I couldn't find one.
Oh.
There's only one ever been made. So
Is that right?
yeah, Sean's got it probably.
Probably. It's sitting in the garage. Sean says, we have built several Ipe fences. Where you get... Now I've got questions because Indiana's further from the west coast than Missouri is. So
Ipe's everywhere, man.
I thought it was like a west coast thing.
No. It's a Brazilian and African thing. You know, the exotic hardwoods come from Brazil, from Africa, South America, and Southern Hemisphere. They have these hardwoods. I'm guessing Australia has a lot of them too.
Sure.
So exotics, they're just extremely hard and dense. So it's very popular. It's just they're very expensive. So I think Austin, Texas. Sean says Texas, but I think Austin, Texas is probably the big hub for that. But or maybe Houston. But yeah, we get a lot of it up here.
Texas, there you go. Okay. Now we know. Sean, this is not a price question. I'm just asking you the difference between like a high-end cedar and an Ipe. Like are we talking double? Or are we talking 50%? What's the upcharge to get into like the Ipe fences? This is an interesting question because if you can buy it by the job lot, which I understand will be more per unit than a truckload, but if you could buy it by the job lot and you only sell 2 a year, well, now you've got 2 a year that you can put in your portfolio.
I'll put it like this. If you're asking how much it costs.
Yeah. So look at the answer. About 400%. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, that was a fun thought while it lasted. So this is not a production fence. This is a craftsman fence.
Yeah. Well, it's the kind of fence where so Nashville, we'll talk about it. We have one of the eighth richest counties or wealthiest counties in the United States in Nashville. Williamson County, Franklin, Brentwood. You've heard of this place. Mm-hmm. It's where Dave Ramsey lives. It's where everyone lives. And they do $5 million renovations on homes over there. They build $20 million estates. And if you're paying, there's a lot of people who aren't that level, but they're still wealthy doctors and things. When they hire an architect to come in and they want to do something timeless, they're going to spec in, a lumber. So if the cost is 400%, but there's zero maintenance, you technically need to do maintenance, but you could do zero maintenance, and in 50 years, the Ipe is still going to be there and still solid. So I think that's where it comes down to is people that really want to do something timeless.
The maintenance and upkeep though. So if you're gonna stain this, the stain's like twice a year or something, isn't it?
Yeah, but you don't
do it
have
really
to.
right.
So for instance, a lot of your commercial like pool decks and like really nice places where they have pools and things, they're always going to put the Ipe down. A lot of the boardwalks you see, like in Michigan, there's a big, huge boardwalk across the Great Lakes, Ipe exotics, because when you go to an exotic, you go from a 10-year life to now we have a 75-year life. So 400% more for 6,000% longer lifespan, something like that is. And so when you're a municipality or you have a board, it's like, well, pine's not even an option.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's going to warp, it's going to crack, we need something that's going to look great in 40 years.
Interesting. Good. We're all learning something now. Sean also said labor is triple. I can see that. If it's that hard, I could see that. Yeah, so this is my homeowners that bought it have never asked what the price is before we start. Interesting. And it said it has to be oiled every year to keep it looking great. It will gray out if not, but it'll last almost probably forever. Yeah, very good. Ipe is for your more discerning customers. Interesting. Good to know. I still want that option. I still want an option that's a little bit above cedar. I think it's probably redwood. That's a little bit above cedar because we'll have the clients that there's a percentage of clients that will just buy the high offer, right? They'll just say, hey, and for us, it's cedar picket, cedar rails, steel post, pre-stained cedar products, period. If you want the best fence I can build in production conversations, this is it, right? Like if we want to talk about some crazy custom thing, okay, but that's it. If we had a fourth option, it's just like, all right, because here's the thing is you have these neighbors, and and you guys know the guys that where you say, hey, listen, your neighbor has a beautiful cedar fence. That thing looks great. We did that fence last year, and it's pre-stained and steel post. Man, that thing's great. Do you know we offer something a little bit better than that? And their ears just like perk out. Like, really? You offer something nicer than what he has? Like, yeah. We offer a Redwood. And there's no other fences that are Redwood in this market. They'll buy it in a heartbeat. Not all of them, obviously, but you do have those clients that just want the bragging rights, or they want the whatever the reason, they will buy the crazy option. That's what we're looking for, but not 400% crazy. 400% is a little crazy. But maybe here's the thing is, so you're familiar with Tom Reber. So one of the things he talks about is head trash, right? Like, you convince yourself of things that may not be true, right? So I'm here saying like 400%, that's too much. Like, that is beyond crazy. But maybe I'm just saying that. Maybe we've got a doctor here that says, if you're telling me I can have an Ipe fence and no one else in my neighborhood can afford to have an Ipe fence, put the Ipe fence
you
in.
have that thinking, but also you have the thinking of, okay, I'm building an estate here that I want my great-grandchildren to come see me on, and I'm going to be, in 40 years, I'm going to be 40 years older, and I don't want to have to redo this. Let's build something, it's, I think, as a duty or obligation to the next generation. Some people, when you have that type of wealth, then you want to use it for good. So I think by doing something that's going to last forever,
Definitely. So would you use Ipe posts then as well?
I think if I was going to do something to last forever, I'm probably just going to do some kind of steel post. And most of the Ipe fencing I see, you never see the framework. It's all finished face.
It's all hidden.
And so it's all hidden, and you just see this beautiful Ipe wall in front of you.
Do a Postmaster style post.
Yeah, I just bought a bunch of tongue and groove Ipe for the walls in our office. I found a good deal on it. Snagged some up.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's that? You can't hide money. That's that saying. That's
you
that
can't,
saying.
man. That Facebook Marketplace special. Some guy did a $20 million renovation, and his contractor had some extra boards, and found them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the contractor billed him for about 10% extra just in case he had splits or whatever, and then went.
Yeah.
Well,
I've got some accent walls. We were going to do tongue and groove, and I said, man, they're 3.5 inch wide tongue and groove boards, so they're different.
Nice. Yeah.
And I said, man, I'll take those. That'll be cool.
Absolutely. This is kind of an interesting thought. So Sean says the new aluminum wood grain is better than Ipe.
Yeah, but the people that want the best are going to get that. But the people that want the timeless, beautiful look, they're still going to go for wood.
Yeah. You'll have some clients that want natural beauty. That's the term that gets thrown around here a lot, is natural beauty. So, and it's what we talk about when we're competing against a composite or against a wood grain vinyl. There's a lot of that in the area. Like, well, do you want natural beauty or do you want imitation beauty? Because imitation beauty is easy. Like, we can get that anywhere. Natural beauty, I don't know. But it would last probably forever, though. Kenny Dugan ranks them as cedar, clear cedar, redwood, and Brazilian. And Brazilian's probably going to be your Ipe, that sort of thing. Or is Brazilian different than Ipe?
Brazilian is probably the wrong term. Probably the correct term is exotic.
Okay.
Because you have so many. I mean, you have lower end exotics. You have like Angelique, which is cheaper than Ipe but looks identical to Ipe, and so a lot of people will do that. And then he's talking about these thermery, which is these either like heat treated. We don't really know what they are exactly. Lumbers. So Akoa lumber and things you've heard of, some of these brand names. But
man, I was at one of these lumber stores. I don't know what the term for it. The lumber store where, like, if you were going to go, they sell slabs of lumber, right? Like, it's not pre-milled. It's not. They'll just sell it by the slab. There's one called what is it? I'm going to get this wrong. It's Tiger something or other.
Tiger wood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man. Very expensive.
Yeah.
But very cool.
Well, in mahogany, they sell mahogany, but mahogany is endangered. You can't cut real mahogany. So there's a lot of mahogany out there that's not It's not quite. I mean, it is a mahogany, but it's not the mahogany that the Vanderbilts put at the Biltmore, and whenever that was.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Yeah, those lumber stores, like I'll like to go if I've got some extra time, if I'm in the area and I'm in between appointments, I like to pop in just to see like what crazy stuff is out there. Because there's one that has like all of these just wild woods, but we'll never build never say never, I guess, but never probably never build
name. Great name for a store would be Wildwood.
Wildwood. Kenny says maybe. Okay, that's what you're talking about. The Thermi, right before Brazilian. Good to know. Good to know. I would like to try Redwood. We just gotta. I don't know. It's one of those things you almost have to create the market for it. But all right, guys, we are getting ready. We're at the hour mark now. Oh, I forgot to do this. Okay, so for those of you that made it all the way through that are still watching, we're running a 4th of July sale. If you use discount code FREEDOM at checkout, you save 25% off your entire order at ozfence.store. That email is going out here in just a little bit.
Wow.
Discount code FREEDOM. Gonna give the e-commerce folks something to do. I say something. They don't need anything extra to do, but we're looking to boost traffic to the store. So ozfence.store. You can also now purchase gates from ozfence.store. So we've figured out, but we've got solutions for shipping gates. So we shipped out our first steel frame gate this week, headed to, where was that one headed to? Texas, I believe. Yeah, Smallwater, Texas. So we can ship gates, chain link gates, wood,
awesome.
Steel frame gates for wood fences, you name it, we sell it, we can ship it. Now, is shipping a 6 foot tall, 4 foot wide gate across the country inexpensive? No. Is the shipping almost as much as the gate? Yes. So it can be done, but just know that there are costs associated.
Yeah.
Shipping is an interesting conversation, just about shipping costs, because you hear so many different things, right? Is you hear from the actual truck drivers that the pay has never been this low, that they can hardly afford to keep the trucks running, that it's the lowest it's ever been, and da-da-da-da-da. And then you go to try to ship something, and it's like, wait a minute.
It's just still, like the beef industry.
Yes.
The farmer's still getting $1.25 a pound than what he was getting 15 years ago, and beef's 15 times more expensive at the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's
or in lumber. Right, like when we saw pickets, the price of pickets, 2x4s, etc., the price of finished lumber be at an all-time high. You had guys that are logging saying that's weird. They're saying that there's no supply, yet here is all this lumber that I can't sell because they're still paying pennies on the dollar for what this stuff is worth. And I just said enough is enough. Yeah. So trucking is probably in the same realm as all these, that it gets stuck in the middle. Right, the producers get paid hardly anything. At the very top, you get premium price. So it's like, where's the disparity? In the middle, this would be probably in brokers. So we're learning this as we're shipping wire here and there and everywhere. And the finished price of trucking this stuff has not gone down. A semi still costs roughly $1,700 to send stuff a state away, basically.
Yep.
But it is what it is. Caleb, what else you got? What else should we talk about?
Man, I don't know. How much time do we have?
I got 2 orders to ship out, and that's about it today. So.
Okay, so we got all day if we want it.
Yeah. We have a tool order. So also for your fencing tools, you can get those at ozfence.store. Oh, Sean King sent me a couple pictures. Good.
Yeah, he sent them to me too, and that's what I was sitting here messing with, trying to get them up on the screen here. But
I think I can figure this out. I think I can airdrop them to this computer, maybe.
See if they're on my phone yet.
Mark, how can we make this work where I got pictures texted to me? How can we get those up on here? Yeah, I do.
I got it. Okay.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
I think I'm just about there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not on my computer. You know, the phone always syncs with the computer immediately unless you need it.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
But anyways, it's Ipe fences. It looks cool.
It's beautiful. I mean, the cliff notes here is absolutely freaking beautiful. But yeah. So anyway, I was gonna say we got to order for some tools here. Let's see what
I got an idea that we should talk about.
Yes, sir.
It is the end of quarter 2.
Yep.
What are you doing to get ready for quarter 3?
Well, so
And I'm asking the world. I'm asking contractors.
Yeah.
To ask themselves, what are you doing to get ready for quarter 3? Do you have your targets set? You should already have them set. So Monday morning, you can be locked and loaded, right? So.
yeah, you should already have the answer, being that today is July 1.
Yeah.
So we probably about a month ago we started finalizing our Q3 budget. And so what's the easiest way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, right? Is to quarter it and then just start with the big project, turn it into small. So if we started with our, annual budget, right, where we want to be at the end of the year is this. Okay, well, let's divide that into 4. There's our quarters. Divide those into 3. There's our months. Divided into 4. There's our week, right? And so a lot of this was that, but we had a meeting just saying, hey, where do we think we're going to be? Here's our goal. And on January 1, Q4 of last year, we decided where we wanted our year this year to be.
Yeah.
But is that still accurate? Right.
Yeah.
Like a lot has changed in the last.
Did you change your numbers?
We're talking about it. So we haven't yet, but we might. We were a little bit more pessimistic at the beginning of the year than we are now. I think we're more optimistic now as to just the way the economy's shaping up. I mean, think about it. Q4 last year, it was doom and gloom. It's
still doom and gloom. You know, if you sit at the right table, if you sit at the wrong table, it's still doom and gloom.
Right. Well, but even on so I listen to a lot of podcasts just to try to gauge like where people's heads are at. Mm-hmm. So I'm hearing less like hard crash on the economy, recession, this and that. Now more of them are flipping over to we think it's going to be a soft landing. We're still coming down. We still got to land a plane, but we think it's going to be a soft landing because the Fed has eased their outlook and all this. I think that's
companies. Hopeful. These huge companies have got competition now, and they're finally going, "Oh, we're going to have to lower our prices if we want to keep business." I've seen it,
of course,
a lot lately, and they're bringing their prices down drastically. And so I would say, don't be a jerk. But if you're dealing with pricing issues, then and you shop around and you do find a better price, I would share that with whoever the big huge retailer is that's been charging everybody out the yin yang for so long, because they're starting to feel it too. The big companies are starting to feel it, and they're bringing their prices back down to market prices. And that's the way I say it. I say, hey, are you interested in doing some work on your pricing to get it back down to a market price? And we're being respectful, but the market is changing. And so I think that's something that you need to realize. If you sit there and you never bring up pricing, because some people are afraid of that, you can probably save some money. We never raised our price on stain all the way through COVID, and we absorbed every single one of the price increases. Some of them are 400% and 500% increases. Now that we've taken some time to price shop some things, every single one of our vendors has reduced the price with just the ask. And some of them have reduced it multiple times, which is a good thing, because we have to build, we got to build our resources. So I think I'm not saying go beat up the guy down the road who's took care of you for the last 10 years, but if you feel like you're working with a huge company that is just arbitrarily just made up a price because you'll pay it, you may be surprised to find that their numbers may not be as good as they were, and they may be willing to check themselves.
Yeah, we had a similar conversation with one of our steel strands. So over on the wirework side, the manufacturing side, we had bought from this manufacturer of domestic strand for quite a while. Really good quality, but the prices reflected it, right?
Yeah.
We moved to a different supplier that had okay product, but the prices were more competitive. All right. The finished product to the customer was arguably the same. The nicer product we could run faster, right? So we're like, well, if the finish is the same to the customer I could give you 2 rolls of this fabric, Caleb, and you couldn't tell me which was which as far as the producer. 1.2 ounce coating, they had certificates, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so we didn't buy from company A for probably 6 months, 6 or 7 months. And then along comes a phone call, which in and of itself is a little just abnormal. So usually these people communicated via email. I would just get an email from a rep. And so he calls me. He says, hey, this is so-and-so from so-and-so. And I said, oh, hey, how are you? He said, good. He said, hey, just noticed the buying volume has gone down significantly over the last 6 months. And I said, yeah, 0 is significant. And he kind of laughed. He goes, yeah. He goes, let me ask you. He said, was it a problem with quality? And I said, no, quality is fantastic. And actually, we loved running the wire, but the price made us non-competitive in the market. He said, okay, I hear that. So was it availability? No, availability was great. He goes, okay, well, the only thing we've got left is price. Yep. That's where we're at. He goes, okay. And then the magical words, right, were something along the lines of, where do we need to be competitive? He's like, I can't promise that we can do it, but if you tell me where I need to be competitive, I can take it to my boss and we can have a conversation about it. And lo and behold, and I told him, I said, this is where we're at now, just all things being honest. He said, okay, well, let me take it back. Give me a day, and I'll have an answer for you. And then lo and behold, comes back with an email the next day and says, we were able to take 2% off that number. So not only did we meet the number, we came 2% under the number. Interesting. So that tells me that you had the ability to be 2% under that number for the whole time. But now I'm sure he came out of a meeting where the gist of it is, go find us more customers. We're losing customers.
It's commodities, right? So in the commodities game, they've named their price. And so the problem the big problem that I had with it, we would get a call from a raw material manufacturer and they would say, oh, the price has doubled because of shortages. And I go, well, how much do you have? I mean, we need this. We have blanket orders in. How much do you have? Oh, we have like a warehouse full. We got all you need. Whatever you need, we got it. We can ship it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But the price is doubling because of shortages. Well, yeah, we're having a lot of shortages. How much do you have? We have kind of like as much as anybody needs. Like
yeah,
we got a 5-year supply. And it's like, are we stupid here?
Yeah,
you know.
Meanwhile, you're sitting there. You're like, are they hearing themselves?
Well, one of the manufacturers I talked to recently, I really had a problem with their pricing. The pricing was out of line. But they're a big company, one of the big 2 resin makers, and they said, well, there's these other companies that come on, and they go, yeah, we've heard about them, but and I said, well, you need to get your price right. We've been a good customer. You need to get your prices right, and I've got truckloads ordered for a year in advance, and so I know a lot's riding on this, and they said, well, that other company, I've heard that, they're telling people 2 weeks, but it's taken 6 or 8, maybe 10 weeks, And I said, oh, really? That's funny. I said, because when I ordered mine, I got it in 2 weeks. And he said, oh, okay. Well, let me get back with you. And then they got their pricing right. And so it's just, it's just unfortunate that we got to play those games, but we do.
Right.
It'd be different if there was shortages or things, but we just I think the American people don't want to be lied to, and they don't want to be they want to be done fairly. So
absolutely, they want good quality for a fair price. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's unreasonable.
No.
Yeah, I really, as a consumer, that's what I want. I don't think I'm being unreasonable when I ask for that.
Well, if you sell it to me for a fair price, then I can sell it to the next guy for a fair price, and I will buy and he will buy. But when milk becomes $27 a gallon for milk, I mean, people are just going to quit buying it.
Of course.
We're going to go to almond, to nut juice or whatever.
Yeah, so, whatever the alternative is.
Yeah.
It's human nature. Well, you talk about, whatever these fires and resin, and then it creates a vacuum. And then ultimately, it always comes back to equilibrium, right? So a vacuum is created, brings in new options. Same thing happens for all of this, whether we're talking about commodities, whether we're talking about options in, producers or whatever. It always comes back to equilibrium, I feel like.
Well, and it's a pendulum that swings. So as these prices went up, all these huge profits these company made, all the executives that took all the bonuses and things, well, they paid twice as much for jet fuel. It cost them 3 times as much to buy the properties that they wanted to buy and all these things. If we would have just held steady on pricing, the economy would have been extremely strong, and the profits would have still been up, and nobody would have had stress and heart attacks because of all these things.
Right.
So,
right.
I think it's time mankind looks at one another as mankind, instead of aliens to one another.
Right. We're all on the same team.
We're all pull on the same end of the rope, right?
That's absolutely it.
But if you don't have your numbers for this quarter 3, you have Saturday today, you have Sunday. Some of you have Monday, and then you have Tuesday. 4 days. If you can't get it done in 4 days, look at what you did, last quarter. Look at what you did last year, and come up with a good plan and set some targets. If you aim at nothing, you shall hit it every time.
Right.
So, I think.
And one thing too here, Caleb, is communicate that too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's one thing I'm still kind of struggling with, is communicating to everyone, kind of what the goal is. What are we aiming at? Where are we headed?
So we have this document called a one-page strategic plan that has a 3 to 5 year, it has a 1 year, it has every quarter, and so you can roll that out to the team and let it. And I think a lot of young guys in business set these huge goals, just humongous, and they never hit them. Set a goal that you can actually hit. Don't set it too low, but you want to come in. You want to get these goals. Small wins are better than 0 wins. So I would say do that.
And what is it?
You
overestimate what you can get done in a year and underestimate what you can get done in 5, or something to that effect.
Yeah, that's for sure. And 3 years makes a big difference. But also, a lot of people, the biggest problem we made early on was with setting priorities. We would set too many priorities, or we would set the wrong priorities. So 1 to 2 priorities in a company is about all a company can take on a quarter, and then maybe a theme. So you have 2 big priorities, like we're going to get this thing done and we're going to get this thing done, and this is all the things we have to do in order for that to be a true statement. And then we need a theme. Maybe the theme is we're going to look really sharp this year, so every day everybody's getting rewarded somehow, or shout outs for wearing their uniform. Or maybe the theme is we're going to cut cost, and anytime somebody can cut cost, we're going to throw it in a bucket and have a party at the end if we save X amount of dollars. Whatever that theme is, those things are good. But two priorities and then a company theme for the quarter is usually about all you can do.
Yeah,
really, because I'm the guy who's got here's 75 priorities.
Right,
we're gonna get them all done,
and they're all important.
It's like 1 to 2 things that you can get done, and that's it.
That's good. That's really good.
If you crush those two to 3 things per quarter, at the end of a year, that's like 12 huge priorities that you've knocked out of the park, and that's where you start seeing growth.
Massive growth. Yeah.
Massive growth. Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
Joe, do you think for most fencing guys that quarter 2 is bigger, or do you think quarter 3 will be bigger?
Quarter 3.
Do you?
I mean, that's what our numbers are based on, is quarter 3 being the biggest quarter of the year. I think quarter 4 could surprise a lot of people too. So what we're seeing, and this might just be our market, so take it for what it's worth. And so we have this final Friday, the last Friday of every month, we have a lunch. Mm-hmm. And so Sarah was talking about what she's seeing on residential, and she's kind of tiptoeing into commercial with my dad, is that it seems like things have been delayed 2 months, 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. So when we're seeing, we'll look at historic milestones. What did we do in Q1? What did we do in Q2, Q3, Q4? And what did we do July of last year? That sort of thing. Well, we're seeing things delayed 6 to 8 weeks for whatever reason. And now we're consistently hitting these milestones, but they're just delayed 2 months. So our thinking is, okay, if Q3 is historically the biggest quarter of the year, and we still think it's going to be the biggest quarter of our year, what does that say about Q4 though? If everything is delayed 6 to 8 weeks, does that mean some of this Q3 now slides into Q4? Probably. Because I think people were holding their breath for a while this year. And I shared a conversation I had with a gentleman earlier this week where I was doing a project walkthrough with him, and it was like 80 feet of 4-foot chain link, kind of finishing off a yard. Anyway, it was an older guy, and you know how older guys get with just telling stories, and we're chit chatting for a little while, and he goes, he said, I've been putting this project off for a while, and I just decided like now's the time. I said, oh, okay. I said, hey, let me ask you, why now instead of 6 months ago? Like this project, he'd said he'd been not trying, but he's been thinking about this project for the last several years. He got some neighbors, and anyway, why now? Why not 6 months ago? And also, why not 6 months from now? Like, what made now the right time? He said, well, it's just, he was a retired guy. He said, I was honestly trying to figure out if I wanted to dip into my retirement, 6 months ago or now. And I just didn't feel comfortable dipping into it 6 months ago. I didn't know if I was going to need to use that retirement to get food or pay utilities or whatnot, or if I could afford. And like I said, this is 80 foot of chain link. We're not having like a $8,000 to $10,000 discussion, right? This is a small project.
We're talking about uncertainty, is what you're describing.
Yes. Is that even on small expenditures, there was an uncertainty. And this is a sample size of one, right? This is one conversation I had recently, but I think it jives with a lot of what we're seeing is that people early this year were just uncertain. They were hearing about a crashing economy, about a recession looming, about the Fed running out of control with interest rates. All of that narrative was going on, and it really made people pause and just sit on their money. And I say people run companies, right? Like we're always talking about humans, whether we're talking about residential spending, commercial spending, government spending, whatever. Well, government spending is probably a different conversation, but residential and commercial spending, we're still talking about humans and their feelings when dealing with these expenditures.
Yeah. All it takes to shut down an economy is just to tell everybody, you know what I heard. That's all it takes.
Yeah,
and then you got every news station on the world who are people that live in a bubble. These people don't work the way everyone else works. They go to the TV station and then they look on the computer all day. You got people like that are being told what to say, and it's a narrative. And so, even if it's a true narrative, do we want to focus on the problem or do we want to go out and fix the problem? And I think most economies, Zig Ziglar said it back in the day. He said, the media has accurately predicted 74 of the last 2 recessions. And he said, and he also said that most people's recessions right between their own 2 years, and that if in every down economy there's somebody in every town, there's a plumber who's rich and there's a plumber who's just starving to death, and they're working in the same markets. Yep. One of them saying, "Wow, it's never been this great," and the other one saying, "It's the market's just terrible." So I think we get to decide our fate in a lot of ways. So if we decide to go out there and plan these things and do them right, we can succeed to some level.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's. And we're on that page. I think third quarter is going to be our biggest quarter of the year. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty optimistic though about Q4. I really am. Q4 is always, it has Thanksgiving and Christmas in it, right? So it's like you get into holiday spending, and so when we're spending money on holiday purchases, we're typically not spending money on the house unless we need to, right? So discretionary spending typically goes down. But I don't know. I think October is going to be a big month, bigger than normal month. Now, is it going to be a July or August? Probably not. But I think it's going to be. I think Q4 is going to be good. I really do.
Yeah. Can I announce something on the show? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yes, we will allow that. Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to work with you on this, but
Okay.
As we get into our new facility, we got a new place opening up very soon.
Yeah.
I think we lack cabinets and things. I mean, we're so close.
So close.
We're going to be doing pre-stained lumber and moving it online.
Excellent.
We're partnering with somebody to do
Yeah.
that. So I think with your store, where you're selling to fence companies,
Yeah.
lumber packages, we'd like to work with you on that, and we can
Okay.
provide that for you. And same for anybody else out there who maybe has a store or whatever. I think
Absolutely.
the pre-stained lumber, and I think it blows my mind because I've spent a lot of time around these e-commerce fence suppliers. There's some fence suppliers you never heard of. You know,
Yeah.
what's the big one that we all know of? It's I can't remember the name, but there's one fence supplier that's online that you never heard of until you search for fence supply, and then they have this huge store. These
You're
are
probably talking about Hoover, maybe.
Hoover, yeah. There's these huge companies. So many people buy they want to do it themselves or hire somebody. They buy a full vinyl fence or a full wood fence, and it shows up in the mail. And I mean, the Olympic. I know a guy who sold it was in Japan, the Olympics in Japan. He sold a 3-rail fence out of Texas online, and it went to Japan for them to build at the Olympics. Now, you can't tell me they didn't have vinyl fence in Japan.
Right.
So, you know, the opportunity's there. And,
Yeah.
you know, I talked to Sean King about this a little bit too, is working with the Team Blue there to try to set
Yeah.
up, you know, certified installers across the country to come in and do this. But, you know, you never know.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get together on that. We're in. I mean, I know you guys as a company. I know you personally. I'm so comfortable with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys making pre-stain, so I'd like to have
Sure.
this huge network of people doing it. So,
Well, and I think, I don't know. When we deal with you and your company, we deal with a known commodity, right, or a known outcome. We know you're going to do the right thing with the right components, or it's not going to happen. Right? There's not,
Right.
There's not a lot of sacrifices that
that's
go
one
on
of my
there.
core values, Joe.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. And I think that is worth a ton, knowing that you're doing business with a company that has that core value pre-printed and ready to go.
Yeah, it's important. And if you don't have core values, you better get some, or everyone else will decide what they are for you. So,
Right. You might as well get out in front of it and decide it yourself. Very
these
good.
things we hold to be true. Yes.
Well, Caleb, you're getting ready to go on a little bit of a road trip, so I won't take up a ton of your time.
Going to Grandma's house. Yeah, I got a lot of work to do today.
I'm jealous.
But I don't want to go do it. So I feel like I've waited. You know, I'm about 8 hours behind the 8 ball on that work. So
Sure. Well, we'll let you get to it, Caleb. I appreciate you always being so giving of your time. Literally, I send a text like, "Hey, last Saturday of the month, we're good to go." The answer is always yes, and I'll be a few minutes late for this. Yes. So what is it? I'm trying to think if this was something I was with you. There's the thought of yes and instead of yes but or no but or what.
Mm-hmm.
Yes and. That's the whole thing we're working on now. But that's always been your answer. Yeah. And I'll be a few minutes late because I've got a baseball game. Perfectly fine. You know.
Yep.
But you're always so giving of your time is what I'm
I
thanking
appreciate
you
it.
for.
So are you. You know, we got families we want to get home to, but
Sure.
hopefully, maybe somebody. I challenge, maybe 3 people to. In fact, I'll do that. I'm going to challenge if you call me or my team or Joe in the next 4 or 5 days and you say, "Hey, I sat down, I got my numbers figured out for the quarter, I've got my targets set." You don't have to share the numbers with me, but maybe share the some of those targets and goals, and I'll help you with that and tell you if it's a mistake I've made before, because I made mistakes with priority.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
give you some insight on that if you want it, and I'll send you, I'll send you one of Tom Reber's books. Here it is. Winning the Contractor Fight, and there's
There
my
you go.
bookmark in it, so I actually am reading it, and then I'll send you one of our Staining 101 guide books, which are really cool. Joe, have you read
Love
The
it.
Road Less Stupid yet?
I am halfway through the audiobook. I started
that
listening
guy-
to that.
Isn't that guy a genius?
Yeah, and I see what you mean on you need the actual physical book too. So I started
Yeah.
listening to it. Honestly, on my way back from driving to Warner's place, I was like, okay, now I understand when you said you actually have to have a physical copy to highlight and to bookmark and to, it's like a reference manual to a certain
one
extent.
of my favorite parts is he breaks things down so many ways. And then at the end of the chapter, he goes over all the bullet points. And then he goes, and here it is on a bumper sticker.
Yes. Here
it is on a bumper sticker. What gets measured is what gets done. What gets measured is what gets managed. What gets measured and reported can improve exponentially. So take that as parting advice from Keith J. Cunningham, who is
it's good.
brilliant.
It is
brilliant
really,
businessman.
really good. But nope, yeah. So I went on Amazon and got the actual book copy of that too. That way I can highlight and bookmark. It's like I said, it's more of a reference manual. It's a good book. You read it cover to cover, but actually he says like in the beginning, like you can literally open it up to any chapter and it stands alone. Like you don't need to read it cover to cover. But I could see myself putting sticky note, like kind of like what we did in school, where you'll sticky note just key things you're going to come back and reference over and over.
Yeah, in fact, I think this book is actually so good. They don't have one, but a workbook, would be really, really good to go with that book.
I could see that. Absolutely. Road Less Stupid. Guys, if you haven't heard it, read it, do that. I saw Justin mentioned he was getting into it.
Sean King, that it's pretty high level too. So Sean, I would check that one out. It's probably good and it should be listened to if you're a owner operator. Just you and maybe one person. You should listen to it. But if you have a little bigger organization, it's geared towards that and really some good strong points in there.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
Celebrate freedom.
That's right.
Spend time with your family.
Yes, sir. Yep. Spend time with it. There was I don't know, something that hit me. I was reading. I don't know where I was reading, but basically it talks about spending time with your family because they're the ones that will remember you.
Yes.
Right. Your customers won't remember the sacrifices you made. The team surrounding you won't remember the sacrifices that were made 10 years down the road. But ask your kids 10 years from now, and they'll remember.
There it is on a bumper sticker. Man, I like that one.
Yep. That I read it or I heard it or something, and it right here in the middle of the eyes. It just boink. Okay. All right. Yep. That's true. But anyway, spend time with your family. They're the ones that will remember you. So.
That's great parting wisdom.
There you go. Caleb, thank you so much again. Stick around. I've got something to talk to you about after this is wrapped up.
Hope I don't owe him money or something.
No. It's positive. It's completely positive. Guys, for now, Joe Everest reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and I'll see you next time.
See ya.